Since 1947, the World Affairs Council has become the preeminent global stage for world leaders and the public to inform, engage, and debate the most important issues of our time. It's your world. Get to know it.
It was entirely predictable, given his background, that President George W. Bush would look at what he referred to as the war on terror through a traditional security lens, and to launch a war to preempt attacks against the United States before they could be launched. His response was entirely predictable, but it was not entirely effective, because you can't defeat violent extremists through military means alone. You have to develop a deeper appreciation for their disenfranchisement and what makes them think they can achieve their goals through sensational violence. When we think about coercion, there are a range of different techniques. These are designed to get terrorist organizations to change their behavior. They're also aimed at states that harbor terrorist organizations. Again, the distinction here that fell on deaf ears in the Bush administration is between regime change, which was kind of the mantra that came out of the Bush White House, and changing the behavior of a regime. If through coercive tactics we can change the behavior of regimes that are involved in harboring terrorist groups, or get terrorist groups through pressure to change their tactics and to think that they can achieve their goals through a political process, as opposed to sensational violence, we should bring those techniques to bear. Terrorists are increasingly sophisticated with their communication strategies, and they use the World Wide Web to incite hatred, to raise funds. There are even encrypted messages that we've seen on websites of Al-Qaeda in Mesopotamia that they use to coordinate operations. So then we have a kind of conundrum here. What do we do about our commitment to freedom of expression when there are websites that we know are being used to raise money or to coordinate a terrorist activity? My own view is that we have to be very careful not to cross that line indiscriminately, but if an organization is using its website to raise money or to sponsor a terrorist act, then whatever techniques we have at our disposal, we should bring to bear. And you can bet there are hundreds of techie experts sitting in agencies in Washington working on a range of different techniques to disable or deface the websites of groups that we think are representing potential risk. We know that poverty is a source of instability. It creates a potential breeding ground for extremism, potentially for terrorism. The Monterey Consensus set certain goals for foreign development assistance. The Scandinavian countries have come closest to realizing those goals. The U.S. lags far behind, so we need to step up and provide more aid to countries. More than aid, they need trade, they need debt relief, they need a comprehensive strategy to promote economic development so that you can move countries forward, break the cycle of poverty, which is often linked to violence and conflict. Governments need to provide a social safety net. This is usually done through their health sector. When you deal with pandemics, oftentimes developing countries don't have the capacity to handle medical emergencies, so you've got to strengthen the public health system and the international public health system.